please be upstanding for Her Worship the Mayor.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. In the light of the news that is currently being reported regarding the events in the City of London this afternoon, Merthyr Tydfil County Borough Council extends our thoughts and sympathy to those involved. I would also like to ask, please, for 1 minute's silence in regard of the person that died. Thank you very much. Please be seated. You may remove your jackets. Are there any apologies for absence, please?
Yes, Madam Mayor. The apologies from Councillor Chris Barry, Councillor Leighton Smart and Councillor Paul Brown.
And Councillor Harvey Jones, Madam Mayor.
Did we say Chris Barry? Yes. Yeah. Right. Okay, thank you. Declarations of interest. May I draw your attention, please, to Part A and Part B. Are there any?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I got item number 7, Merthyr Tydfil Leisure Trust. I'm on the board of the Leisure Trust. And number 17, the Common Housing Allocation Policy. I'm a member of the Democratic Board for Merthyr Homes.
Right, thank you. Ernie?
I'd like to declare interest in item 7, Merthyr Tydfil Leisure Trust, and the council representative on the board.
Mike?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm a former item number 11. I'm a former member of the NASUWT and a personal friend of the person involved.
Okay. Howard?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Item 14. I'm a landlord, so do I have to declare an interest?
I'm also declaring an interest in item number 11 as chair of Merthyr Tydfil Trades Union Council, the NASUWT affiliate to us, so I'll be leaving the room for that item.
And in answer to your question, Councillor Barrett, yes.
I understand. Oh, Gareth?
Sorry, in addition to Councillor Barrett, I'm also a landlord, so I'd like to declare an interest in that particular item. Thank you.
Leader, I understand you'd like to say something before we start?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. Madam Mayor, this is the last council of this administrative term, and on behalf of all members of the council, and I stress all members of the council, I'd like to pay tribute to our officers and staff for doing such a great job on behalf of the public that we serve. The past 5 years has been extremely challenging due to the unprecedented cuts forced upon us by the Westminster government. However, the council's entire workforce has demonstrated enormous resilience during this period, and I know I speak for all members when I say thank you so much to each and every one of you. It has been an absolute privilege working with you. Madam Mayor, some of our councillors are also standing down at the elections, and on a personal level, as leader of the council, I'd like to thank each and every one of them for their considerable contribution to the County Borough of Merthyr Tydfil during the period of which they've all served. To all those retiring members, I just want to say that whilst we may not have always seen eye to eye on certain issues, it really has been a privilege serving with you all, and I wish you every success in whatever you decide to do next.
Yeah, Madam Mayor, may I, on behalf of the officers, thank the Leader of the Council because clearly his good wishes are well received. I thank the Cabinet this afternoon for the support they'd given the officer team in making some very difficult decisions throughout the administrative term over the last 5 years. And clearly in such austere times those decisions have been very difficult. I'd also like to thank all the councillors of the council for their support throughout, for their constructive challenge, for their support, and certainly for the spirit it's been meant in delivering services of this authority. In my opinion, it is a teamwork exercise this. We need to all work together to deliver the very best for the communities we serve within the county borough. And therefore, I'd like to reiterate what the leader has said to those who who are retiring on the 4th of May. Actually, I think it's the 8th of May because you continue your service until the 8th of May. We wish you all the very best in your retirement. And to the rest, we wish you all the very best on the 4th of May.
Right, into the agenda then. Item number 3, 3A to 3O. Are there any questions or comments, any amendments?
Madam Mayor, if I can just raise one amendment, that is at page 55 in minute number 903. I understand that the typing went a little bit faster than it was supposed to, so it should read at 903 that there were no apologies for absence. The declarations of interest in the decision part needs to be removed. That's obviously from the line below.
Thank you. Can I put that to the vote then, please? That's carried, thank you very much. Item number 4, addressing the funding of local government, the financial transaction tax. I understand the leader is to take this.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. Madam Mayor, Merthyr Tydfil County Borough Council, along with other local authorities, is being forced to endure cuts to services, thereby forcing suffering upon our local residents. The Council asserts that there is an alternative to the Westminster Government's ideologically driven attack on public services, namely the levy of a financial transaction tax on the speculative activities that have accelerated the recent enrichment of the few to the detriment of the many. The Council therefore calls upon the Westminster Government to enact the financial transaction tax and to use the revenues from this measure to reverse ongoing shrinkages to local government financing. The recommendation is that Merthyr Tydfil County Borough Council 1. Writes to the Prime Minister, Leader of the Opposition, Chancellor and Shadow Chancellor of the Exchequer outlining the Council's position, and 2. Writes to our local MP, AM, the First Minister, Leader of the Opposition and Cabinet Secretary for Finance and Local Government at the Welsh Government to advise them of the Council's position and to seek their support. I so move.
Second, Madam Mayor.
Are there any questions, please? Comments? Can I put it to the vote then? That's carried, thank you very much. Item number 5, scheme of delegation, and I believe it's the leader again.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. Madam Mayor, this is a straightforward report seeking the delegation of powers to the Chief Executive during the period from this evening on until following the elections on May the 4th. It's a report that comes to us at the end of every administrative period, Madam Mayor, and there's nothing new in this report. I'm happy to move the recommendations in 2.1 and 2.2 of the report. And in 2.3 of the report, Madam Mayor, I would like to delete item A there, because that's already been amended by the previous scheme of delegation. So it's just B and C in recommendation 2.3.
Second, Madam Mayor.
Any questions? Comments? Can I put it to the vote then, please? That's carried, thank you. Item number 6, corporate reserves policy. I believe it's the Deputy Leader to take this.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The report set out on pages 63 to 65 of your pack, together with the appendix attached to that,
Paragraph 1.1 on page 63 sets out that the local authority responsibilities in respect to financial reserves are governed by the statute and in particular Local Government Act, Finance Act 1992. If you turn over the page to page 64 in paragraph 3.3, you can see there that it's clearly set out that in a financial environment of continued austerity, it's critical that the Council adopts a robust reserves policy for managing, monitoring and reporting all Council reserves and balances. That's the reason why we're putting up the recommendation, which is on page 63, recommendation 2.1. I move.
Second, Madam Mayor.
Any questions, please? Comments? Can I take it to the vote then, please? That's carried, thank you. Item number 6, corporate reserves policy. Oh, I just done that. Item number 7. Yes. Item number 7, Merthyr Tydfil Leisure Trust. I believe the Deputy's taken this again.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Now that the two members are unforeseen, I can carry on the report. Page 71, paragraph 1.2 sets out the basis of this report in that there were some unforeseen financial liabilities identified in respect of 3 items, which are explained in more detail on page 72 in paragraph 4.2. Assuming members will have read that and understood the issue. So the recommendation is that we make a one-off payment of £110,000 to MT Leisure Service Trust in respect of these unforeseen financial liabilities. Look for approval. I move.
Happy to second, Madam Mayor.
Any questions, please? Councillor Thomas.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Page 72, right at the bottom of the page, Cyfarthur artificial turf. I mean, I can understand the previous 2 unforeseen, but for the school just to withdraw £12,000, wasn't that into some sort of contractual obligation, or have I missed something? There's £12,000 there, which seems just to have been withdrawn at a whim.
It is the case that when the actual management fee was set in 15-16, that we did include that income amount as part of the management fee. But it became evident then within the start of the financial year that, as you basically say, the school did actually withdraw that amount of money, which left the Leisure Trust that amount of money short in the management fee. So as far as we're concerned, it is something that the school actually withdrew, and it has had an impact on the Leisure Trust.
Any further questions, please? Comments? Tony?
I hope that we won't continually be bailing out the Leisure Trust.
Any further comments? Can I put it to the vote then, please? That's carried, thank you. Can someone fetch him back in, please? Right, item number 8, medium-term financial plan 2017-18 to 2020-21, and it's the Deputy Leader again.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. A little bit of history before we start. If I can move us to page 77 and 78. Start with 78 and the table 1. And you can see the way we've suffered over the last number of years in terms of the settlement being made to us, which is summarised in paragraph 5.3 on page 77. That obviously we've been experiencing a period of unprecedented funding reductions as central government continues its policy of financial austerity. That is such a true paragraph that Steve put forward, because this last 4 years has been nothing that we've experienced before. It's been so difficult trying to balance the books. That leads me in, therefore, to page 75 and paragraph 1.4, which sets out there that the MTFP for the period 17-18 to 2021 shows that we're still going to be trying to find a figure of £16.358 million. That, members, is on top of the £30 million we've had to find so far in the last 4 years. A dire time. And if you look at page 80 and table 3, you can see how that figure of £16 million is built up. The MTFP goes into a lot of detail in respect of the financial situation and where we're actually putting more money in the budget, and indeed where the reductions of the budget are. So those of you interested, the final document is something like 115 pages. You're more than welcome to pick it up from the website or from the intranet. For today, though, I'm just going to ask members if we can move to page 76 and look at recommendation 2.1, which is that we actually approve the MTFP and the Treasury Management Policy and Annual Investment Strategy. And 2.2, the prudential indicators contained within the MTFP be approved. If you're wondering what they are, if you just go to page 83, and paragraph 7.1, it says there the prudential indicators included within the policy ensure the Council's borrowing and investment plans included within the MTFP are affordable, prudent and sustainable. That's an important point to make given the light of some comments that's been made in certain parts of the Tinternet over the last few months. So that's paragraph 2.2 back on page 76. I ask the members if they will approve recommendation 2.1 and 2.2. I move.
Second, Madam Mayor.
Other questions, please? Comments? Councillor Thomas?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It's been an interesting 5 years sitting in this seat as a leader of the opposition, and I understand from local popular press that I might personally have taken a little criticism for some of the things I may or may not have done. One of the things I would like to say tonight is to congratulate Steve and his team. Forget the politics of it all for just a moment, but the work that they have done to manage the budget over the last few years has been absolutely incredible. And as professional officers, they've done a superb job, probably only hampered by the political interference from the Labour leadership and deputy leadership. Which is probably why I'm wearing this tie tonight, just out of sympathy. But that brings me to my last point, which is that, in a way, I'm glad I'm not going to be sitting in this chair for the next 5 years, because for this council to be delivering services to the local population with the cut, again, of another £16 million is almost beyond and beggars belief. Whether you blame national government, local government, or anybody else, the purse is only as big as we are given, and it can only be spent once. And so the follow-on government in this local area has my great sympathy and understanding again for the next 5 years. And if I were leader of the opposition, I would do the job in exactly the same way, criticise where it's needed, but support when it's essential for local delivery and local people. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Any further comments, please? Brendan?
Only in reply to the leader of the opposition, Madam Mayor, in as much as I'd be more than happy to see him sitting in his seat for the next 5 years, as long as I'm sitting here for the next 5 years.
Any further comments? Can I put it to the vote then, please? That's carried, thank you. Item number 9, employee expenses, and I believe it's the Deputy Leader again.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Page 94, paragraph 3.5, gives the essence, really, of why this has come before us tonight. It's been at the request of the trade unions because of things that we've had to do recently in terms of moving people around, etc. So the recommendation is on page 93 that the employee expenses policy be implemented on the 1st of April 2017. I move.
Second, Madam Mayor.
Are there any questions, please? Howard?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to ask a question. We've been told there's certain departments moving down, further down the valley, i.e. the highways. Will they qualify for this?
Just to respond to that, clearly that's one of the reasons why the policy was considered, and the policy was put forward after the request from the trade unions, and indeed in consultation with the trade unions. So yes, I can verify that that is as a consequence of the representations made by trade unions.
Any further questions, please? Any comments? Can I put it to the vote then, please? That's carried, thank you. Item number 10, Pay Policy Statement 2017-18, and it's the Deputy Leader again.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This is the 6th Pay Policy Statement. It's an annual statement that has to come before Council. Members will have read, I presume, the documentation. So the recommendation on page 97 is that the Pay Policy 2017-18 be implemented on the 1st of April to be approved. I move.
Second, Madam Mayor.
Are there any questions, please? Comments? Can I put it to the vote then? That's carried, thank you very much. Item number 11, request for full-time trade union representative, National Association of Schoolmasters Union and Women Teachers. I have to leave you. If Deputy Mayor can take my place, please.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. I'll pass you to the Deputy Leader for this one.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. The summary of the report on 1.1, 1.2 obviously sets out the framework in which this report is going forward, and obviously it's a principle dear to the Labour Party's hearts in that we totally support collective bargaining and working closely with our trade unions. The nub of this report, though, I think for members to perhaps understand why we're doing this, is on page 102 and paragraph 3.4, if I can refer you to that, where it says there that the NASUWT has requested, it should be has requested, I think, isn't it? That the part-time union official become a full-time official as the role has expanded, not expended, into the role of the negotiating secretary and also member of the National Executive. So because of that expansion of his role, clearly he needs to come out of the day job effectively. So that's why we are now putting forward the recommendation tonight, which is on page 101, that the full-time trades union rep from NASUWT initially for 18 months be approved to start from the 1st of April. Madam Mayor, the situation is that should you have a trade union official who is dealing with things at this national level and doing things like this person will be doing, the cost will fall upon the host authority. So since we are the host authority, the money will obviously then go forward to replacing him on a temporary basis at the school from which he's coming. So I move the recommendation, Madam Mayor, on page 101.
Again, second, Madam Mayor, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you very much. Any questions? Councillor Tydfil?
How many other unions have got more than 300 members? Is this going to set a precedent for other unions? Because it strikes me like perhaps Cardiff, they've probably only got one rep, and 300 seems a relatively small number, really, although he's got national responsibilities. So I was just wondering, you know, if this was accepted, how many other unions would want a paid rep as well?
Madam Mayor, just refer you to the previous answer, the previous comment I made, in that clearly on this occasion the person involved is dealing at national level, and therefore it's not 301 people we're talking about, it's actually the representations at that national level and on the executive committee. So that's, you know, it might seem unfair, but that's the rules. We have to pay for that post because that gentleman or lady will be working at that higher level and not just at the 301. In terms of representations from other trades unions, they can always make the representation to us, and that will be considered then by the council as to whether we would support the payment for them to become full-time officials.
Can I just supplement that from the Deputy Leader? We currently have one full-time representative within the council, namely the Unison representative, which council agreed about 12 months ago. GMB have indicated that they don't require a full-time representative at this moment in time, but because we're required by law to provide that support should it be needed, then we will, as the Deputy Leader said, bring a report to council for consideration.
Oh, thanks.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I'm curious, what is the Burgundy book?
Right, on to item number 12 then, 21st Century Schools Programme, proposed new build for Ysgol y Graig Primary School. I understand, Gareth, you're taking this?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. Clearly, members will have read the summary report and see the recommendation that's before them this evening. However, before I commend the recommendation to you for acceptance, paragraph 3 deals with the introduction and background of this matter. And members will be aware that back in October 16, I brought a report to Council setting out a proposal in regards to reviewing and looking again at the decision made back in 2011. And again, the reason for that is set out in 3.11 and goes on further. I just need to remind members that the issue around why is Ysgol y Graig only coming forward now in 2016-17 is that both this administration and the previous administration actually put forward 2 schools for the 21st Century School Programme, that being Avon Taff and Ysgol y Graig. The council took the decision that Avon Taff should go first and foremost, and members will be aware that we've spent £12 million in Avon Taff. That's £6 million of our own money and £6 million worth of Welsh Government money, because the current financial envelope is 50-50 from those organisations. The report sets out in 3.11 that funding has now become available for Ysgol y Graig. We've got commitment from Welsh Government, and again, we do need to spend that funding certainly by 2019, because Welsh Government's envelope in regards to Band A schools finishes at that date. As a result, we entered into a listening and engagement sessions with stakeholders within the community, and again it needs to be pointed out that this is a non-statutory engagement and listening session. We're not required by law to undertake it, but as part of good practice we have done so. Clearly members of the community were contacted by various means. That's through site notices, notices in local businesses, shops, notices in the school, local Facebook, etc., etc., on our website. As a result of that notification, we had, as you see in paragraph 4.8 and 4.9, We actually had 52 people come forward for the first session, which was held on the 1st of March, and again, 55 people come forward on the 6th of March in regards to that session. I must say, having been present at both sessions, the discussion that was had, certainly on my table, was constructive. It was challenging. We had differing views. But I think ultimately, and I would hope that the community at that stage considered that it was an open and transparent exercise. And I know that I've certainly received, and others have received, emails and issues on Facebook, etc., to say that they considered it to be an open and engaging session. As a result of the listening and engagement process, whilst 8 sites were considered, and those are set out in 4.13, we did not want to stifle the discussion and debate. And as a result, you'll see that in 4.15, some further sites came forward for investigation. They came forward from the public. They weren't taken forward by us as an authority. They actually came forward by the public for consideration, and they were taken into consideration, and views were obviously given in regards to those sites. Following the listening engagement sessions, we then were required to set up a process which is called co-production. And this is where people who have indicated at those listening and engagement sessions who wish to be part of a process whereby they co-produced a report or co-produced the recommendations to come to you this evening in regards to which sites should be looked at for going out to public consultation. We had 14 requests to sit on that co-production panel. Unfortunately, only 12 turned up. 2 were unable to make it. But again, the 12 stakeholders who were present at that site was a fair reflection of the community, people who had varying interests in the community, and again, I'm told that that session was extremely challenging as well. You'll see there the sites primarily which were considered. And in 5.10 they set out the sites which I know they went through one by one, and those sites which met the essential criteria were basically 3 sites, and those are set out in 5.11. Given the public feeling and the feeling of the co-production panel, one of the key areas for consideration was that the school should be located within the electoral division. It should not be moved outside that electoral division. And on that basis, having listened and engaged with the public, 2 proposals came forward. Those 2 proposals are set out there in paragraph 5.13 for your considerations, and the 2 sites that should now go forward for public consultation, which is a 12-week period, which allows anyone and everyone to have a view on these proposals, are Goitracoy playing fields and the former Vena and Penderyn High School site. That basically outlines the background to it. Madam Mayor, recommendation therefore is contained in paragraph 2 of the report contained at page 106, and I therefore commend that recommendation to you, that we commence the 12-week consultation period from the 8th of May on the 2 sites which we've actually taken forward as listening to the members of the public.
Can somebody move it, please?
Madam Mayor, the progress in moving forward with the new Ysgol Graig school site seems to have taken an absolute age, actually, following the report to council way back now in 2011, when members, including myself, agreed that the old Vena and Penderyn site should be the preferred site for the new school. Madam Mayor, as we're all aware, much has happened during the intervening 5 years. That is not for discussion this evening. It's not part of the scope of the report. but at last, and I'm glad to see that we're ready to move forward to the next stage. I'm extremely grateful to the officers of the Council for facilitating the listening and engagement process, and to the many members of the community who have taken part in the process and have given their views. Incidentally, Madam Mayor, the Chief Executive mentioned earlier on about many members of the community complimenting the Council on the way that it's undertaken the process this far. And I've also been contacted by several members of the community also congratulating the authority for the way that the process was undertaken. And quite clearly I've stayed well away from that particular process. It wasn't something that I should get involved in any event. Can I also say, Madam Mayor, that I'm grateful to the 12 stakeholders from the community of Vaina for the co-production process that has led us to the recommendation that the Vaina Penderyn school site and the Goedrecoed school fields be put forward for consultation in the coming weeks. Madam Mayor, this is a very straightforward report as part of this process, and therefore I am happy to move the recommendations in section 2 on page 106 of the report, that in 2.1 the following sites be approved for progression to public consultation commencing on the 8th of May 2017 for a 12-week period, the former Vaina Penderyn school site and the Goedrecoed playing fields.
Madam Mayor, I'm happy to second the leader, but I'd like to hold back any comments until the end of the debate, if necessary.
Any questions, please? Howard?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. On the listening and engaging process, and as you said about the good practice of it, can I ask why 2 of our villages in the community was not notified of any meetings taking place on this, and the one village has definitely got children in Ysgol School, i.e. Ponstic and Cwntaf?
Thanks, Councillor Barrett, for that question. 2 issues. Firstly, it was advertised on social media, and it was also advertised on our website. But more importantly, it was advertised within the school itself. So anyone who had young people, young children in the school would have been made aware. And we did have representatives from some of those areas actually show an interest in coming along.
It's not what I've been told, but there was one representative from the Vaina ward, from the Vaina area, who's actually governor of the school. But I'll accept what you're going to say, Gareth, because I've had representatives from Ponstic say they had no idea of the meetings at all. Sorry, yeah, okay. I'll go on to my second question now. If the consultation process is passed tonight, which I certainly hope it is, how are we going to assure the people of the Vaina ward and other people out of the ward are going to be notified of the consultation?
The consultation will be advertised in accordance with the law. So we will be required to publicise that through social media, through notification within the localities, any way we can possibly do so. It will be advertised and people can engage with us. And as you quite rightly say, it's not just relates to the Vaina or electoral division. We've got young people actually attending the school from throughout the county borough. So hopefully people throughout the county borough will participate. We will ensure that that goes through the school as well. But the purpose of the consultation now, which is the statutory consultation, irrespective of where you live in the county borough, if I wanted to comment because I live in the Vale of Glamorgan, because I've actually got an interest, I can comment because my comments need to be taken into consideration. And many of you will know, in regards to footpath inquiries, we normally have comments from people up in Yorkshire about footpaths within the county borough. So, you know, mark my word, it's likely that someone will comment either throughout the county borough, UK-wide, or maybe actually internationally, given our status in education being, 4 years on the trot, the most improved authority.
Lisa?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Can I just ask, I appreciate the points made, but in relation to 5.13, so if we look at the 2 sites, in relation to Goedrecoed playing field. Before we go into full statutory consultation, as the Chief Executive has just pointed out, have our planning department taken a look now at the field and, in light of that, taken a look at the site, and are they happy to confirm that it would meet planning regs, Chief?
The answer to that is no, because we cannot predetermine this issue. What we are currently undertaking, we've listened to the views of the community, and obviously we'll now move forward on those two options. Once we decide which option, and Council will make that decision, in my opinion, in September this year, then obviously we will move that forward in regards to planning. The issue we've got to address is obviously we need pre-application discussion, and I don't know whether Judith is here, but the issue is around, on pre-application discussion nowadays, you actually have to pay for that discussion, and my view is that we wouldn't want the seed to be preempting. As soon as we do something, we will be immensely criticised. So we're going to be open and transparent. Those two sites are on the cards. When we come out the consultation, there will be some indicative drawings showing the approximate location of the school, but there will be no detailed designs because we're not going to go into that detail at this moment in time.
Can I just come back on that, Madam Mayor? Okay, so really, Chief, what you're actually saying is we may find ourselves in the same situation. It's a bit like deja vu, actually. We may find ourselves in the same situation where we found ourselves when we voted in 2011 for it to go on Vaynor and Penderyn. We may now find ourselves in that same situation again. And what I mean by that is we'll go to full statutory consultation. Let's just say for argument's sake, public say Vaynor and Penderyn and save the field as it is. The whole reason for us going back into listening and engagement was because we as the local ward representatives were told that there were planning issues in relation to the highways infrastructure. So how can we now, well, I'm just referring back, so how can we now go back, I am getting to the point, so how can we now go back into a statutory consultation with the same site on here, not the playing field, Vaynor and Penderyn, when we're going to face the same issues? So I can't see how we haven't engaged with planning, Chief.
Yeah, I think, and again, the reality is these two sites are coming forward as a result of consultation with the public, and therefore we're putting it to statutory consultation. There are other issues which will come to this. We are able to deliver both these, in my opinion, but it does require, and that will come out in the consultation, some land take from houses. We may require a CPO, we may require lots of other issues. That and those matters will come out during the consultation.
Any further questions, please?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The Goedrecoed playing field, where will be the substitute field to meet the fencing trust criteria for disposal of a protective field going to be? And if the school is built here, or even if it's only going to be road and parking facilities there, where will be the substitute field?
The Mayor can't answer that question because Council hasn't made a decision as to where the school will go. One thing I can say, whether the school goes on Goedrecoed playing fields or whether it goes on Vaynor and Penderyn High School site, there will be a requirement to provide replacement playing field land, because both require some of the playing fields to be taken for school purposes.
My concern is that the public, when the consultation is taking place, won't have any firm information with regard to that facility playing field, the alternative playing field, if need be. So they'd be asking to vote really a little bit in the dark.
The whole issue around going out to consultation is once we decide where it's going to go, whether it is either of those sites, then obviously a report will come forward in regards to adequate replacement land. If the school is placed and it's agreed that it be placed on Vaynor and Penderyn High School site, then the size of land required to be exchanged for that piece of land will be a lot smaller than it will in regards to the Goitracoid playing field. At that time, this council will need to make that decision. You know, we need to be very careful about preempting and predetermining this matter. So that's the answer, Anne.
Any further questions, please? Comments? Lisa?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Well, as this may be my last full council, let's go for it, shall we? As I said earlier, I really do feel as if it's déjà vu, and as if I'm, to quote a film, Marty McFly in Back to the Future, and I'm back here in 2011 making a similar decision. What I do want to point out is the listening engagement event, firstly, and no disrespect to Nick, the consultant who was involved, but to me it was a comedy of errors. Not only was there a lack of consistent information presented on issues papers, which led to the obvious weighting of some sites to others, and this, I believe, was misleading, but sites were included that wouldn't have even got off the ground. For example, the Black Patch, a perfect site, but outside of the settlement boundary, so why on earth was it even included? Members of the public were shown white outlines of sites, not even proper plans, yet these plans were readily available, as shown to my colleague Howard and myself back in July 2016 by Jim, the architect from Blaenau Gwent. A perfect plan drawn up of the school on the Merthyr site. People were asked to make decisions without even seeing sight to this. As for stakeholders, 88 people out of a ward of nearly 3,000 residents were invited to attend a listening engagement event. Not one poster was placed in Cwmtaff or Ponstick, and even though there isn't proper facility in Cwmtaff, not one resident was advised, although I appreciate what the Chief Executive has said about it being placed in the school. Then, to top it all, you had to be invited, and when you phoned in to get an invite, you were faced with questions on why you wanted to go and what your interest was. But funnily enough, the two elected representatives of the ward, voted in by 95% of the voting public, weren't even allowed to attend. Yet the prospective Labour candidate for Merthyr, who doesn't even live in the ward or has a child who goes to the school there, was in attendance. And I wonder how our officers actually feel when it takes them so many days, hours and weeks to write such critical strategies and policies only for them to be ignored. And for that I refer to the LDP, the Open Spaces Strategy, and of course the Planning Policy Wales, of which we are supposed to adhere to as a council. Our own planning policy with a commitment to build on brownfield sites, not green. Tourism, sport and recreation, I won't even bother going there. And of course the next item on our agenda, the Wellbeing of Future Generations Act. What really is the point? And before anybody comes back to me and says it's about children's safety, it's about safeguarding, it's about new measures from Welsh Government in relation to school bills, then these policies, I believe, have been used to scaremonger people. There are no issues in the bill being on Merthyr site, as voted on in 2011, that could not easily be managed effectively. This school should already have its foundations built. And just so that we are crystal clear in this chamber tonight, in my last two manifestos, my pledge was to get a new school for our community, and it still is. But I can't stand back and hear incorrect, misleading information being given, to our public. Our children need a beautiful new school, but they also need to be able to enjoy safe outdoor open space. And when the bell goes and school finishes, just last weekend, over 200 children playing on that field at a mini and juniors tournament. And all this is done, the listening engagement and the lack of proper listening engagement, in my eyes, has caused upset and arguing between people in the ward, including myself, and an attempt to rip a community apart. We can't even get a straight answer on the disposal of the field and how the legislative clause in the policy from Fields and Trust will be met. This is a quote I read just today. I want people across Wales to be able to lead active, healthy lifestyles. Maximising the link between sport, physical activity and the natural environment is a key to this, which is why Fields and Trust work to ensure good access to free, local outdoor space is so important. And that is the Labour AM, Rebecca Evans, the Minister for Social Services and Public Health. Sat in this chamber tonight, I actually feel that we are making council decisions week after week, month after month, listening, debating, making decisions. But I ask myself now, prior to the elections, what for? Just like the Cabinet papers in October 2012, where this sitting Labour Cabinet administration voted unanimously to protect that field. I really do feel as if I'm in Westminster, because this Labour administration are making more U-turns than the Conservatives. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Phil?
Madam Mayor, if there aren't any other comments, I know the leader wants to come in, but obviously he will then close the debate, and I did reserve the right to comment. In seconding the motion. Well, I have reserved the right, so and the leader has asked to speak. So clearly, we are coming to the end of the debate, I presume.
Howard is indicated to speak, so you can close the debate once everybody who's indicated has spoken.
I just want to make one small comment about the community, with because my fellow councillor said about 200 mini rugby were playing there on Sunday morning. It's not only about the mini and junior rugby. Is when that field is lit up on a wintry night, the whole village comes out. Children come out and play on that field. People come and walk in. It's a real community area and a community field. And sadly, we're going to use, unless it's, we're so passionate, I don't want to say any more.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. My only comment in summing up really on this, and as the leader to sum up, not me, is I really must express concern about Councillor Mitten and her advocacy on this matter, because my little bit of advice to her is she needs to be very careful about the advocacy, because clearly she is talking on matters that I understand might directly affect her as a resident in the area should one of the options go through. And I think she needs to think on that. And having said that, Madam Mayor, I second the motion.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. Well, Madam Mayor, the fact of the matter is, Councillor Mitten would not be happy with any outcome other than the one that she's been clearly advocating for some time. I did point out, when I moved the recommendations, that I was one of the members that voted in 2011 for the Merthyr and Penderyn school site. That was on the information that we had before us at that particular occasion, and as I also pointed out, Madam Mayor, the world has in fact moved on. Madam Mayor, there is a lot of misinformation being bandied about in the community out there, and it's been deliberately done by the two ward members who, in my opinion, have got direct interest. Madam Mayor, can I ask what the point of order is and what section of the Constitution it comes under, please?
Madam Mayor, I will refer to that, but I will actually address that, and I will ask the leader to withdraw that statement.
Madam Mayor, I'm not going to withdraw the statement, okay? What I am saying is absolutely spot on. There's a lot of information, misinformation, deliberate misinformation being put out into the community. Members of the community have contacted me personally to say that the council intends building a school right in the middle of the Goitracoid fields. That isn't true, okay? I'm sure there'll be various options if it comes to pass, that the school should go there. The one thing that I have made myself absolutely crystal clear on throughout this process, and I will continue to do so if I'm fortunate enough to be re-elected on May the 4th, is that I don't care where the school goes. I would love to see it in the community because I believe in community schools. What I will not do, and what my fellow members will not do, is compromise the safety of our young people in order to keep a field that we currently have in use. Now, I've got no doubt about it whatsoever that lots of things will come out during the consultation process. I did try to say that they weren't for debate or discussion tonight, but it's been allowed to go through. It hasn't been stopped by the monitoring officer, so I'm having my say on it now. My view is that both Councillor Mitten and Councillor Barrett have both got personal interests in this matter. Simple as that. Councillor Barrett is a director of Kevin Coyd Rugby Football Club and has already advocated for rugby continuing on that field without any other interruption by a new school. Now, I would advise the both of them. I would advise them. I would advise both Councillor Barrett and Councillor Mitten to be very careful in what they say, because one way or another, this could end with the both of them being referred to the Public Services Ombudsman. I've been clear in my approach to this throughout. I don't care where the school goes. I would love to see it in the community. I will not vote under any circumstances to put a school on any site that is going to put our young people at risk. It is as simple as that. Madam Mayor, I believe I've now closed the debate.
Can I put it to the vote then, please?
Councillor McCarthy?
That's carried. Thank you very much. Item number 13, preparation for the Wellbeing Duty, Wellbeing Objectives, Wellbeing of Future Generations Act Wales 2015, and I believe it's the leader to take this.
Yes, I'll just have a glass of water, Madam Mayor, to get my blood pressure down. I'll be with you in a second. Madam Mayor, this is a very straightforward report asking that our wellbeing statement and wellbeing objectives be approved. Members will note from paragraph 5.2 of the report that under the Future Generations Wellbeing Act, by the 31st of March this year, we are required to be able to evidence the steps taken to gather and analyse information pertinent to the setting of clear wellbeing objectives for the local authority that demonstrates our contribution to the wellbeing goals that are set out in paragraph 3.2 of the report. Our wellbeing objectives are set out in paragraph 6.3 through to 6.6 of the report, and I move that the recommendations on page 113 as set out in paragraph 2.1 and 2.2 of the report be moved.
Second, Madam Mayor.
Are there any questions, please? Comments? Can I put it to the vote then? That's carried, thank you. Item number 14, council tax discount for long-term unoccupied properties, and there's two to leave. Deputy Leader, I understand you're taking this.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. This is an annual report that comes before Council for determination. It's basically no change from the policy we currently follow. I'll get in the end. And the recommendation is on page 121 and 122, 2.1 through to 2.3. I move.
Second, Madam Mayor.
Are there any questions, please? Comments? Can I put it to the vote then? That's carried, thank you. Item number 15, cemetery memorials, and I understand it's the Deputy Leader to take this one.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm taking this on behalf of Councillor Chris Barry. Sorry? Done that. Cemetery, you must keep awake, Lynn. Page 129, paragraph 1.1 really summarised the whole situation, and I'm pleased to say that following the reconsideration of the policy, that we are now introducing a policy where memorials can be provided at various graves. Clearly, there's been problems in the past in terms of some people doing them illegally anyway, etc. So this will now clarify things and sort things out. However, there might be circumstances, national park boundary or something like that, where it might not be appropriate to follow the guidelines we set out. So we've also added to the recommendations that the delegate authority be given to the officer in charge to make a final decision as to whether a memorial should take place. So the recommendation is on page 129, 2.1 to 2.2. I move.
Second, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Any questions, please? Lisa?
Madam Mayor, just referring to 3.1, only because I've just had a resident get in touch with me about the Garden of Remembrance in Pant Cemetery, so I just need to clarify something by asking a question, if that's okay. Towards the bottom of the paragraph, it says people who decide to put unauthorised surrounds on their graves may have opted for ones, obviously, you know, had we had this policy in place at the time. So we've now got authorised surrounds for graves. But where do we stand now in those that have already, you know, and it's very emotive because people grieve in different ways, but where do we stand, Madam Mayor, in those perhaps who've taken it upon themselves to have not one that isn't authorised?
Madam Mayor, I'm happy to answer that question. I've been working with Rob Barnett in Parks on this and on the report that went to previous council on child burials. In terms of Lisa's question, it's fairly straightforward, Lisa, in as much as recommendation 2.2, you'll note that delegated authority is given to the Parks and Bereavement Services Manager on approving the memorials. So each memorial and each way that people do these things will have to be agreed by the Parks Department. Therefore, I have no doubt whatsoever that some of the ways that the graves have been set out will be okay, but some will have to be amended, and that's why we've asked for the second recommendation to be put in, for the very reason that you have stated tonight. You've been contacted by a constituent, I've been contacted by several constituents. Therefore, in order to take that responsibility away from members, it is an operational matter after all, and therefore the Parks and Bereavement staff will be able to deal with them on an individual case-by-case basis.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Leader.
Any further questions, please? Any comments? I'll put it to the vote then. That's carried, thank you. Item number 16, environmental cleansing and enforcement littering dog fouling policy. To consider a report of the Chief Officer of Neighbourhood Services, and I understand that it's Phil again.
That's correct, Madam Mayor. And this is the penultimate report of the last council of this administration, and I'm a little bit annoyed that I didn't get the last report, but Kate Moran gets it instead, so there we go. This one, I think, is an extremely important report, Madam Mayor, because, quite frankly, clearly with what's been happening in the past, we've now introduced a pilot scheme to look after the enforcement of littering, etc., in-house. In order to enable the team to work in accordance with guidelines, what have you, the policies will work alongside the team, so the team know exactly what they can and can't do. Pleased to say that actually in the scheme we've added an appeals process, so appeals can be made. But clearly the recommendations on page 137, 2.1 to 2.3 sets out what we want to do and to accept the policy, and I hope all members will support it. I move.
Second, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Any questions, please? Councillor Thomas?
I may and probably have missed it, Madam Mayor, but are the enforcement officers going to be uniformed and therefore identifiable, or, as in the past, the dog warden wore an ordinary suit and jacket?
Madam Mayor, the wardens will be both informed as per this policy and uniformed.
Any further questions, please? Comments? Can I put it to the vote then? That's carried, thank you. Item number 17, common housing allocations policy, and it's Kate to take this.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This is to bring forward the Common Housing Allocations Policy, which we've already got, but this is an amendment to it. The summary on the front of page 149 explains the detail that we've gone into to consult on it and amend it from what was a very confusing policy. I think we probably run out of precious metals where we could send out tenants to next, to be perfectly honest. So just to move the recommendations then on page 150 to adopt the policy, implementation of the new software system, and to note that we will receive an information report later in 2017 when the policy will actually be implemented.
I second that, Madam Mayor.
Are there any questions, please? Clive?
Try that one. My question is in respect of 9.12, Madam Mayor, where it says there, the first sentence, the negative impacts are in respect of age where families who have children under the age of 10 and who live in above ground floor flat will no longer receive increased priority. Can somebody clarify that for me? The way I've read it is that if there is a family with young children on the housing waiting list and they live in a flat that may be three stories, 4 stories or even higher, will not receive any priority, and this may be an accommodation where there's no lift, so they may have to go up and down the stairs with buggies, etc. Is that correct in the way that I read it?
To a certain degree, yes, but in terms of what we've done is, in the current policy, that is effectively a category in itself, in that a categorization. So that particular household makeup and situation is very specific. So in any of those scenarios you just described, there's still every likelihood that person or family household would receive additional priority for any number of the reasons you described. So if there's welfare reasons, medical reasons, any issues with disability, what it is removing is that that categorization is somewhat arbitrary. So what we're finding in the current policy is that obviously because it's choice-based, people are choosing to move into potentially first floor flats with children for a variety of reasons, often because it's close to family, etc., which demonstrates that it is suitable to their needs in some respects, so they wouldn't choose to apply for that property in the first place because it's entirely choice-based. So having consulted with all the housing association partners, we thought that it was only fair to other people within the entire system that to remove that sort of arbitrary awarding of additional preference for that very specific scenario.
So just to clarify then, that if they've got young children and they're in a flat which is whole flights of stairs above, that will be taken into account.
Yeah, of course, if it's causing them any sort of issue, then that's part of the household assessment, and they'll be advised, A, not to bid for it in the first place, because of the very reasons that it could cause. But if they're adamant they want to move there, it's entirely choice-based, but they'll go there in the full knowledge of the accommodation.
Any further questions, please? Any comments? Mike?
Thanks, Madam Mayor. I'd just like to thank Julian really for his efforts with this, because much of my casework for the Gurners is housing related, and this policy is a sensible step forward. It is an improvement. So.
Any further comments? Can I put it to the vote then, please? That's carried. Thank you very much. Just missing Bill. There he is. Item number 18, to deal with any other urgent business or correspondence. There is none. To receive communications from Her Worship the Mayor, there aren't any. So thank you very much everyone for your attendance tonight. Safe journey home.